Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Laupanah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmedi Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namah. Shanti Mantra. Om Apyayantu Mamangani Vak Pranaschakshushrotramatho Balamindriyani cha sarvani Sarvam Brahma Upanishadam Maham Brahma Nirakuryam Mama Brahma Nirakarod Anirakaranamastva Nirakaranam me astu Tadatmani nirate Ya Upanishatsu dharmaha Te mayi santu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. The Upanishad began with the word Om. Omit-tiradaksharam udgitam upasita. May one meditate upon Om because Om is the name of Param Brahma, of Paramatma. And rest of the Upanishad unfolds how Omkara is Paramatma. In the few passages that we are looking here, Om is praised. It is the style of the Vedas that when they present something, when they enjoin something, ask us to do something, they justify or they show us reason why we should do that. And that is being told in two ways. When they ask us to meditate, they tell us how great is what it is that you are meditating upon. Thus, if they ask us to meditate on Om, they tell us how great Om is. They sing the glories of Om in different ways. And when we know what we are asked to meditate upon is so glorious, is so great, then there arises in our heart a reverence and also an affection for the entity. The Bhakti Shastra says, Mahatma Jnana Purvastu Sudruha Sarvatodhikaha Sneha. Bhakti. What is bhakti? What is devotion? Is sneha, affection. What kind of affection? Sudruha, a firm sneha, firm affection. Sarvatodhikaha, greater than the affection that I have for anything else. How do you discover that affection? Mahatma Jnana Purvaha. By knowing the Mahatma, the greatness or glory, in this case of the Lord, that arises in me is sneha, an affection, a love for Ishvara. And that love alone is called bhakti or devotion. And thus, when there is love, my mind wants to think about the object of love. That's the beauty of love, or what you call affection. That's a bonding factor that binds me with the object of love. And that is how my mind enjoys thinking about what I love. Because love itself, they say, is its fulfillment. Meaning that from true love we do not desire any other thing. Love itself is the reward. And therefore, my mind loves to think or dwell upon that which I love because I enjoy that. So meditation also is constantly dwelling, focusing my mind upon the object of meditation in this case. So, if I love that object of meditation, then there is something that binds me with what I am meditating upon, and that's what enables me to fix my mind on what I am meditating upon. So you can control your mind. Vayurodhanat liyate manah jalapakshivat rodhasadhanam. By pranayama, etc. also, you can control your mind. A mind that is thus controlled can be focused upon what you want to meditate. That's a little harsh way of doing things, of controlling and your mind. Mind wants to do something else and you force it to do what you want it to do. That involves a little fight. This is a sweet way. This is the true is like a calf is running around and you want to you run after it and want to control it, and then it offers tremendous resistance. Or feed the calf with some grass and it cooperates with you. That's a sweeter, softer way. Similarly also, give the mind something that it loves. Either mind like the calf that wants to run around and you want to control it and struggle with it. Or give the mind something that it likes, the food. And so that is called love. That's called bhakti. Love or bhakti for what you want to think of. And meditation is thinking, constantly thinking. So if the thinking is done with love, the love binds my mind with that object of meditation. It is thus to create in our mind a reverence, a love for that object of meditation, that object of meditation is praised. In this case, they are prescribing that may you meditate upon Om. Om ityadaksharam udgitam upasita. May one meditate upon Om. And those subsequent passages were singing the glories of Om. The last one that is so, Brahma samstha amrutatvameti. The one who abides in Om attains immortality. And this one was compared with other people, like a householder, like a lifelong, life-committed brahmachari, or a vanaprastha, performing the duties prescribed for them sincerely, and surely they attain the world of the virtuous, where they enjoy the pleasures for a long time. On the other hand, Brahma samstaha, one who is meditating upon Om, Brahma here means Om, and by meditation one who abides in Omkara, identify with Omkara, Amrit, he gains immortality. So other three persons are placed just to contrast, just to show how great this Omkara is, that meditating upon the Omkara gives you a result which is many times more, much greater than even living life of Dharma. So Dharma is a great thing. There is no intention here to in any case declare Dharma as something not worthy. It is a worthy thing. But this is much worthier than that. That is how Omkara was praised. Now on the page 4, we continue with again the glorification of Omkara. The Upanishad tells us the stories also. So here also in a story form, we are told how Omkara is the greatest, the essence of everything. The story begins like this. Prajapati. Prajapati means creator. So Prajapati has created the whole universe. It seems once upon a time, Prajapati meditated or contemplated to see what is the essence of this universe. Like churning in his mind to bring out the essence. So this Prajapati once meditated upon the universe to discover what is the essence of the universe. And it says that the three worlds, the Prithvi, the earth, intermediate world, and the heaven, they emerged as the essence of the universe. Then he further meditated. What is the essence of the three worlds? Then he discovered the three devatas, the fire, the air, and the sun. You see, in the Vedas, the fire is presented as the presiding deity of earth. The Vayu or the air is presented as the presiding deity of the intermediate world. And Aditya or the sun is presented as the presiding deity of heaven. These three devatas are there because there is fire in the earth, is it not so? Earth is nothing but the ultimately condensation of the fire. The space, of course, is pervaded by air, and that is how all those creatures survive there. And the heaven is illumined by the sun. So there are three devatas. So what's the essence of earth? Fire. The devata fire is the deity fire. What's the essence of the intermediate world, the space? Air. What's the essence of heaven? Surya. That's how we meditated. They meditated further to find out the essence of devatas. Then it turned out that Rig Veda is the essence of earth or the fire. Yajur Veda is the essence of the intermediate, the space or the Vayu. And Samaveda is the essence of the heaven or the Aditya. So this is called Trayi. The three Vedas together is called Trayi in Vedas. So when they refer to, then they say Trayi, it should mean the group of three Vedas, Rig Veda, Yajurveda and Samaveda. And Atharvaveda is included, that's what we should understand. Then he meditated upon three Vedas. So he's churning in his mind. When he churns, then the essence comes out. See, when you churn the buttermilk, then the butter comes out. So you churn the butter and the ghee comes out. Similarly, in his mind, you can call it contemplating, meditating, churning, to determine the essence of the three Vedas. What is the essence of the three Vedas? The 3 feet of Gayatri. Rigveda tat savitur varenyam. Yajurveda bhargo devasya dhimahi. Samaveda dhyo yona prachodayat. The 3 feet of Gayatri emerges the essence of the three Vedas. Then he further meditated, churned in his mind. What is the essence of this 3 feet of Gayatri? Then in his mind flashed these three Vyahrutis, Bhuhu, Bhuvaha, Suvaha. Of the first foot of Gayatri, Tat Savitur Varenyam, Bhuhu was the essence. Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, the second foot of Gayatri, Bhuvaha. Dhyo yona prachodayat suvaha. Then he further meditated upon them. What is the essence? This is called Vyahrutis. Bhuhu, Bhuvaha, Vyahrutis, because they were first uttered by Brahma. When Brahma started creating the world, then he uttered these Bhuhu, Bhuvaha. Because uttered by Brahma, so it called Vyahrutis. They are also meaningless sound. They are all mystical sound symbols here. All of these are. Then we assign meaning to them. Basically, by themselves, they are sounds, and sounds having their own energy, if you like that word, There may not be, there may be some allergy to this kind of words, with energy and vibration, etc. But this is, everything is energy, no doubt about that. So there are so many what we call Bija mantra or the seed sounds. Bhuhu, Bhuva, even Om is also like that. Aim, Reem, Kleem, etc. Shreem, Glaum, Gang. All of these are called Bija mantras. Bij means a seed. And just a seed possesses the potential and energy to bring out a whole tree. So also all these sounds possess that kind of energy. And therefore they are subsequently associated with different devatas who also represent also some energies. And so there is a whole shastra where people prescribe what kind of mantra you should chant, etc. We are not into that, but this is just for information. In a way, we are into that as far as Om is concerned. Om is also one of them, and the most exalted of them. That's the whole idea. So then, these three Vyahrutis, Bhuhu, Bhuvaha, Suvaha. He churned them. What emerged from them? The three matras, Akara, Ukara, Makara. He churned them. What emerged? Om. So by this story, what we are told is how Om is the essence of the entire universe. So this is a reverse process of merging effect into cause, understand? Every subsequent step is the cause of previous step. So of the whole three universe, the three worlds are the cause. Of the three worlds, the three devatas are the cause. Three devatas, the three Vedas are the cause. Of three Vedas, the 3 feet of Gayatri are the cause. That's why Gayatri is called Veda Janani, because from 3 feet of Gayatri, the 3 Vedas emerged. So Gayatri is called the mother of the Vedas. From 3 feet of Gayatri, 3 Vyahritis emerged. So Buhu, Buha, so always goes with chanting of Gayatri mantra generally. From them came the 3 letters, Sakara, Ukara, Makara. That is Omkara. So what's the origin of the whole universe? Omkara. From that, the 3 Vyahritis. From that, the 3 feet of Gayatri. From that, the 3 Vedas. From that, the 3 Devatas. From that, the 3 worlds. From that, the whole universe. So, this is how you sing the glory, that an origin of the universe, of course, is Ishvara or Brahman, and so cause of the creation is Omkara. But Omkara is shown the cause in this manner. So let us read that passage which we have reproduced on the page 4. Tani abhyatapat tebhyah abhitaptebhyah omkarah samprasravat gadyatha shankuna sarvani parnani santrunani evameva omkarena sarvavag santrunnan Omkara eva idam sarvam. Omkara eva idam sarvam. So Tani abhyatapada. He abhyatapada means he performed tapas. Tapas means penance. The word tapas also involves some kind of heat, tapas. When you perform penance and, there is some kind of, some pain or suffering is going on there, that's equated to heat. But Prajapati did not experience any heat, but then in this case of Prajapati, he performed tapas or penance. What is the nature of penance of Prajapati? He meditated upon them, that's all. Tani abhyatapada. He meditated upon them, contemplated, means deeply contemplated upon them. Tebhyah abhitaptebhyah omkara samprasravata. From these 3 Vyahritis, Bhuhu, Bhuvaha, Swaha, which were thus meditated upon by Prajapati. Samprasravat, flowed or issued. What? Omkara. The Omkara issued from that. As though the tapasarya is applying heat, and when they were heated, then as though they melted away and Omkara emerged. But the idea is that Omkara emerges the very essence of these 3 Vyahritis. It flashed in the mind of Prajapati. What is the essence of 3 Vyahritis? So this is how knowledge takes place, really. Knowledge takes place when you really contemplate upon something, churn something in your mind. It has been our experience also in the school and college days. Then you are trying to solve a problem, and for a long time, sometimes you go to sleep, without solving it, and wake up in the morning with a solution. Maybe at night also it will be going on in your mind, but looks like it just occurred to me as though knowledge takes place just like that as a flash. Doesn't take place, it's a result of what? A long contemplation. when knowledge occurs, it's like a tube light. Okay. As a tube light shines, and somebody says, tube light, oh, now I see. So you may say it flashed like that, but it is result of what? A long contemplation. Don't think that Newton came up with law of gravity overnight or something. They say that he worked on for some 20 years. For 20 years of life, Newton spent in developing these things. That's called tapasarya. For knowledge, you need that kind of tapasarya or that kind of penance. What's the penance? Penance of the nature of contemplation, inquiry they call it. Call it vichara. Not simply thinking. Not just going on, with thinking which is directed towards understanding. You follow? Thinking process that is directed towards understanding something. You can think for various reasons. You can think, meditation also is thinking, understand. But that is directed for a different purpose. Is for identifying with the object of meditation, for gaining the grace of. So that is also a thinking. The other kind of thinking is thinking which is directed for understanding. So that is why Vedanta prescribes Shravanam is a contemplation, kind of contemplation which is conducive to or favorable for understanding. And so that understanding, knowledge took place at a given time, and they say at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, or someday I got enlightened. Okay, maybe. So people think that it happens like that, and so they're waiting for that time. Someday it will happen. But Swami Ramana Maharshi, just flashed in his mind that may be so. But we don't know the past of Ramana Maharshi, how many births he passed through in order for this to happen. We don't know. At one point in time at the seashore, it seems that many sages had gathered, old sages, and they were all discussing among themselves that look, we have been worshipping, performing penance on the Lord for so long, and we haven't had His realization, their darshan. Look at this Dhruva. In 6 months, here is darshan of the Lord. What is this? What justice is this? And when this discussion was going on, it seems that some boatmen came along there, invited all the sages, in his boat, and took them long distance, and came to an island where there was some hillock. Second island, another hillock was there. A third, several islands this boatman took the rishis to and showed from a distance all the, those hillocks you see? Yeah. You know what are they? No, they are the bones of Dhruva, who performed penance in all those last births. As a result of which, he got this in 6 months. Don't think that 6 months, so in 6 months, I've been doing it for 6 years, Swamiji. So, the so-called flash of knowledge or realization, etc., looks very romantic, But a lot of not just thinking, the right thinking. What is right thinking? That which is directed by the Upanishad. Because Upanishad is a pramana. Not only an Upanishad, coming from the teacher becomes pramana. Upanishad as a text, of course, is means of knowledge. But when it is unfolded by the teacher, Ananya prokte gatiratra nasti, when the teacher unfolds it as his own self, that is when the student gets it, whenever. So even though Shravanam or listening looks like a very passive, it's not a passive act, it's a very dynamic thing. That if the student is bonded with the teacher, And the Shraddha or the trust or the faith is a bond which creates an open mind in the student, where there is no resistance and no rejection in the mind of the student because he is a trust. And so, with that mind, he also, same contemplation process goes on in the mind of the student, which the teacher unfolds. So, in fact, knowledge can only take place by vichara or contemplation. And for knowledge to take place in student, the student must contemplate. Then what's the role of teacher? So teacher, because of the Shraddha, when there is thus a tuning up of the mind of the student with the teacher, then when teacher says things, automatically that process takes place in the student also. The student contemplates and he learns. It's not the teacher contemplates, the student gets knowledge. That cannot be. Uddharet atmana atmanam. One has to lift oneself by oneself. But then the help is available. Anyway, why all these things? That is because in Prajapati contemplated, deliberated for a long time, and the knowledge flashed in his mind. As I said, that flash is not it. When knowledge takes place, the solution is yes, you see this, but is a result of a lot of thinking, churning in the mind, which is what is called tapas. In this case, the penance. So, Omkara emerges the very essence of all the three Vyahritis. Meaning, three Vyahritis, there are further steps in between, like the 3 feet of Gayatri, and then the 3 matras and Omkara. So, it says here, that Brahma, that Omkara itself is Brahma. Why do you call Omkara Brahma? What is the similarity that Omkara has with Brahman? You say that Omkara is, as Bhashyakara said, is that one of the dearest names of Brahman. So name should be something that should reflect the qualities of the one that is named. Some Anvaya must be there, so the name must reveal the one that is named. If Omkara is the name of Brahman, then Omkara also should possess relatively the qualities that Brahman possesses. What is Brahman or Brahma? Bruhatvad Brahma. So that which is big, that which is large, so that which is great, meaning that is all pervasive. What is great or large? That includes everything. So then one meaning of Brahman will be what? That is all pervasive. It includes everything. So here it is shown how Omkara also is all pervasive. So thus this attribute of all pervasiveness is common to Omkara and Brahma, therefore Omkara is Brahma. So that is what now Upanishad proceeds here. Says tad yatha shankvana sarvani paranani santrundani. See the translation. For instance, as well as all leaves are held together by their midribs. You see a leaf, and particularly if you see the tree that we have here, the peepal tree, it is a large leaf with the ribs, pervading that. So those ribs hold the leaf together. The ribs pervade the entire leaf, and those ribs hold the leaf together. So, tad yatha shankuna sarvani paranani santrundani. It's called shanku, the rib The midrib. So, just as the leaf is pervaded by all those ribs, which support it, which sustain it, evameva, in a manner similar to that, omkarena sarvavak santrunna. The entire, the sarvavak, all the speech, not all the words, all the speech is pervaded by omkara. Vak means speech. The entire speech is pervaded by omkara. So, what is speech? Speech is a sound. What is sound? All the words. So, speech is in the form of, so, there you are. Yeah. See this? These are the, so, shanku, all the ribs, of this leaf. So, just as this leaf is pervaded by all these ribs, so imagine that this is speech pervaded by omkara. Omkara pervades the entire speech. Means wherever speech is, omkara is. What is speech? Speech are all the words. So what are the words? They are all sounds. Speech is sound, makes all the words. And all the words are ultimately names, nama, which are all letters, and all the letters are pervaded by this akaro vai sarvavak. So Swami used to explain that the first letter that emerges from your mouth, without articulation, you open the mouth, say, so first thing that comes is Then a, e, u, ka, kha, ga, all of these are nothing but the modifications of That same when you articulate in different ways, then gets transformed into other different sounds. You follow? So primary first letter is So in every language is alif, there is A, B, C, alif, B, P, something, in Urdu. So generally first letter is or something equivalent to that. And usually it is amma, the child, because when you open your mouth it is when you close your mouth it is ma. So easy to, so ma, amma, something, so that's what a child will say. Meaning that when you open the mouth, the first letter that emerges is akara. What is omkara? Omkara is made up of three letters akara, ukara, makara. When you open the mouth, then the first letter that emerges is When you close the mouth, then the letter makara, isn't it? And there is u. See, u is something that begins from the throat and comes out. It joins and u. So in between three of them, u, ma covers the entire range of all the sound, all the letters, isn't it? Thus, om covers all the sounds and of all the names. And corresponding name, there is always a form. A form cannot be independent of a name. A part or word, the meaning cannot be independent of the word. Part is a word and this object is the meaning of that. This we've been saying since the last 2 days, that when a word is uttered like a part, automatically the object part, the thought flashes in our mind. There is no choice, When somebody says something to us, we have no choice. But that thing happens in our mind. When it's stupid, I wish that, but that stupid comes in my mind. I can't avoid it. That's the power that the word has, called Shakti. Every word, the power to create the meaning is independent of us. So when the word pot is used, that word pot has the power to create the thought of the pot. Similarly, mango or any word. And therefore, idiot. stupid. Our Swami used to say, these four fellows are walking away. You call them one by one. Hey Sridhar, Sridhar looks back. Hey Narayana, Narayana looks back. Hey Krishna, he looks back. An idiot, all four look back, Because that must ring some familiar ring, I guess, in everybody's mouth. But how? That is why words are very powerful weapons. And words are used as weapons by people, deliberately or thoughtlessly. In short, the word has the power to create the meaning, which is what called the object. So what is this universe? Nothing but the objects having names and forms. The characters of every object is name and form. So form is not separate from names, and names are not separate from letters, and letters are not separate from akara, ukara, makara, not separate from Om. Is it not so? Om covers all the letters cover all the names, and all the names cover all the forms. So whole universe of names and forms is pervaded by what? Om. What is Brahman? Brahman also pervades the whole universe. Om also pervades the whole universe. Therefore, Om is Brahman, because they possess the same characteristic. So somebody just made an argument that after all, Om is a word uttered by the speech. So the quotation is akaro vai sarvavak. This akara is entire speech. Because I said A is the first letter and is contained in all the letters, by the way. That A becomes like the material cause from which all other letters are made. So A also is the modification of A, E, U, all these. And then even Ka, Kha, Ga, all of these are nothing but the modification of A. Like all ornaments are nothing but modifications of gold. Just gold is the material cause of all ornaments. So all letters are nothing but the modification of A. So akara is the material cause of all the letters. And that's the speech. So the quotation is that Omkara is entire speech. So somebody said Omkara is speech, but there is many things other than speech in the universe. He says no, there is nothing other than speech, because speech is words and words are forms, and therefore the universe of names and forms is covered by a speech which is covered by Omkara, and therefore Omkara is all pervasive, and that says Paramatma. All of this is stutyartham. This is for praising Omkara. How it is the essence of the entire universe, how it pervades the entire speech, how it pervades all the names, how it pervades all the forms, how it is all pervasive, and the way is Brahman. It's all praising Omkara. Because they prescribe that you should meditate on Omkara. Om iti aksharam udgitam upasita. May one meditate upon Om. Why? Because Om is so great. It's no less than Brahman or Paramatma. Then go to the next page. So before this passage that we have reproduced here, there was a whole section in the ChhandogyaUpanishad which is called Madhu Vidya. Madhu means honey or ambrosia or essence, means Brahman ultimately. So, Upadesha Brahma, Brahma Vidya was taught just before this particular passage that we have quoted here. And so that Brahma Vidya or Madhu Vidya is stated in a different way. So, Upanishad is very interesting ways of presenting things. Here, through Gayatri, it is being presented here. So, look at how the Upanishad says things to us. Gayatri va idam sarvam bhutam yadidam kincha vagvai Gayatri vagva idam sarvam bhutam gayati cha trayate cha. So through Gayatri it is sought to, the Brahman is sought to be taught through Gayatri. So earlier Omkara was chose for communicating or for teaching Brahman. Now Gayatri is another very famous thing. Understand that here the teacher is talking to students who have been studying the Vedas, performing the rituals, very familiar with the Vedas, with the rituals. And Gayatri, of course, is something that every Vedic student is most familiar with because they recite. Now, Gayatri really is the name of a meter. Then, this particular mantra, Tat Savitur Varanyam, became famous as Gayatri because it is the Gayatri meter. But it is what we call the mantra is Savitri mantra. That Tat Savitur Varanyam is a mantra which is in praise or prayer of Savitru or Surya. So really it is Savitri mantra. But that, became unfamiliar, and then because it is in the Gayatri meter, the Gayatri became much more famous, so that mantra is called Gayatri. So when we say Gayatri mantra, we always think of Tat Savitur Varanyam, which is in praise of Savitru or Surya, meditation upon sun. But what is Gayatri is a chandas, is a meter. And Veda, there is, we said, primarily 7 meters, which begins Gayatri, is the shortest meter. Gayatri, Ushnik, and Anustup, Trishtup, Bruhati, Trishtup, and then Jagati. All these different meters are there. And meters have a very specified arrangement of the letters, and so each one of these meters is characterized by the number of letters, and usually a verse has 4 feet, like Anushtup. Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre Samveta Yuhitsavaha Mamakah Pandavasaiva Kimakurut Sanjay. How many are there? 4. Called Charana, or 4 feet, you can say. So all these meters usually have 4 feet. And each foot would have a certain number of letters. So here, the Gayatri has 4 feet, if you say 6 letters per foot. Actually, Gayatri is only 3 feet, but and 24 letters. But if you put in the same line with other meters, then you may say it has 4 quarters, 6 letters each. Then there is Ushnik, which has 7 letters per quarter. Anustup, with which we are most familiar, like Bhagavad Gita, etc., 8 letters per quarter. Pruhati, 9 letters per quarter. Trishtup, 11 letters per quarter. That also we are familiar with. Najayate mriyate va kadachit nayam bhutva bhavitavan bhuyah. So, 11 letters per quarter. And Jagati, the longest chant which has 12 letters per quarter. So 12 times 4 means total 48 letters. Gayatri has total 24 letters. Anyways, this is just for your general information. But then, why is this Gayatri chosen? Here, the Upadesha of Brahma, the teaching of Brahman, is sought to be imparted through Gayatri. Earlier, the teaching was imparted through Omkara, as we saw. In this passage, we are told that Brahman is communicated through Gayatri. Why is Gayatri chosen when there are 7 meters available? Why Gayatri should be chosen? So Bhashyakara says here, first of all, why do you worry about this Gayatri? Why don't you directly teach about Brahman? Why do you have to worry about the Omkara and Gayatri? So why do you want all these symbols and pratikas, etc.? So Bhashyakara is because Brahmana sarva vishesha rahitasya. But Brahman in itself is devoid of all attributes. There is no way they can describe Brahman in any positive way. The only way to communicate Brahman or the self is neti neti ityadi vishesha pratishedhagamyasya. So we are accustomed to knowing something when that thing can be described. When a pot is described as having a narrow mouth and a big stomach and things like that, then you can visualize and you know things. So we are accustomed to know things by positive description. That has been our orientation all of our life. Brahman doesn't fit in that orientation, unfortunately, or whatever. Because it is devoid of all the attributes. Therefore, it cannot be described positively as such and such, this long and this short and this big and this small and this color and that color, etc. Then how do you communicate Brahman? Neti neti iti. It is not this, not this. So the way Brahman is communicated is by negating what it is not. Now that is something you are not familiar with, understand? We are familiar with understanding and knowing something that can be described in words with its attributes. Here is an entity which possesses no attributes and therefore no known words can describe it. So only way to communicate Brahman or the self is neti neti. Divyo, amurtaha, purusha, apranaha, amanaha. Adrisham, agrahyam, agotram, achakshushrotram, tadapanipadam. In this manner. Asthulam, ananu, aharsvam, adirgham. What does it mean? Asthulam is not some description of, asthulam is not gross, not subtle, not long, not short, not red, not yellow, not, So, anyway, when the mind becomes prepared, then this also works. It may not work right now when the mind is only oriented towards knowing things with description. So the way to do is Upanishad takes us from the known to the unknown or from the familiar to the unfamiliar. So use a familiar means to help us slide into the unfamiliar. Since right now we are accustomed to understanding things having characteristics or attributes, and therefore you take up something with minimum attributes. Omkara is that which is minimum. Why is it? Another reason why it is appropriate name for Brahman is because it has minimum characteristics. Yes, Om, it is just one single syllable letter and has minimum attributes or characteristics. And therefore, it is very suitable, or it can be said to be proximate to Brahman, not equal to Brahman. Nothing is equal to Brahman, but proximate. Like that pole. It takes you and then you drop it. So that's how Vedantins talk of Vachyartha and Lakshyartha. But Vachyartha should be such as it takes you pretty close so that you can, what they call the quantum jump, Quantum jump means it's not a linear jump. Anyway, so we need something that takes you up to that point, from where it becomes relatively all easy for us to cross that barrier of all the attributes, etc. So since Brahman cannot be communicated directly in words, because words can only describe attributes or characteristics, it is devoid of all the characteristics, therefore since Durbodhatvat, with the kind of orientation that we have right now, where we are oriented to understanding things only with description, and therefore something that cannot be described becomes very difficult for us to grasp. And therefore we have to keep on preparing our mind ultimately for developing the capacity to grasp that which is without attributes. But it is Durbodhatvat, right now it's very difficult. Therefore you require some alambanam. You require a prop, you require here in this case pratiga. So you require some means, a stepping stone or a pole to jump. That is why this Gayatri is something with which the student is familiar. Omkara is very familiar. Gayatri also the student is very familiar, because he is reciting that mantra so many times every day. So says so many chandas, meters are there, 7 meters are there. How come Upanishad has chosen Gayatri for communicating Brahman? Because Gayatri is most exalted among all the chandas. Chandasam, Gayatri Chandasamaham. Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, in the which chapter? Which chapter? 10th chapter, okay. So 10th chapter called Vibhuti Yoga. Lord Krishna says, Gayatri Chandasamaham. Chandas means meter. Of all the meters, I am Gayatri. It's not that Gayatri mantra, it's Gayatri meter. Understand, every devata we have a Gayatri a mantra in Gayatri. So to communicate, to say how Gayatri, this meter, is most exalted among all the meters, they tell you a story. In Vedas also lots of stories are being told. So in Shatapada Brahmana it is there. So what is the story here? Says Soma Aharanad. So once upon a time it looks that these 3 meters, the Gayatri, Trishtub and Jagati, these 3 were sent to fetch Soma from the Devata. And there were guards, and therefore this Trishtub and Jagati, they could not penetrate. They got tired. They returned without getting Soma. Not only that, but on the way, they lost some of their letters. This Trishtub lost 1 letter. Jagati lost 3 letters and then came back defeated. Then goes Gayatri. And Gayatri not only defeats those, the people who are protecting Soma, but fetches a Soma. And then he picks up those letters also. 3 plus 1, 4 letters, which it merges in itself. So formerly Gayatri had only 4 letters, now it is 8 letters times 3. So this is how Gayatri became. So Gayatri is most powerful. The purpose behind the story is to show some power is there in Gayatri. That is the reason why these mantras and all the devatas, mantras are composed in Gayatri. Not only Savitri mantra is composed in Gayatri, but every devata has a mantra. Ekadantaya vidmahe, vakratundaya dhimahi, tanno danti prachodayat, Narayanaya vidmahe, Vasudevaya dhimahi, tanno Vishnu prachodayat. Then what? Mahadevaya vidmahe, Tatpurushaya vidmahe, Mahadevaya dhimahi, tanno Rudra. Like that. So therefore, for all the devatas, a mantra is composed in Gayatri. Because Gayatri is the most powerful, because it must have some kind of spiritual strength in it. That when you recite that, it imparts, I want to use energy and stuff like that, but something must be there, you follow? But this all mystical thing, that's why energy comes here. After all, the purpose of all worship that goes on is to impart something to you. We go and nothing happens to me because this is the denseness of me that nothing touches me. But if you are sensitive, then everything will influence you. There are people who come to Ganga and they just get, he just wants to jump into Ganga, want to do this, want to embrace her. You go to a temple, stand there and then tears start rolling from your eyes. So things happen to people. When their heart have developed some kind of the sensitivity, then you feel that. Everybody feels for something anyway, but we feel for all the worldly stuff. But for this thing when you feel, that's called devotion. Otherwise called karma. This is so. Yes, people who are sensitive, they definitely experience things. Some want to call it this place as vibration, whatever it is. So when you come to Rishikesh, there's something in this, Swamiji. Maybe, I don't know. Vedantins are all dense people, nothing happens to them. Must be there. So why do you come to Rishikesh? So one Mahatma told us many years ago that, look, when you chant Om Namah Shivaya, once is like chanting 100 times in Ahmedabad, That's the effect here. And go to Uttarakashi even more. Go to Gangotri even more. Must be so. I feel only cold, that's all I feel. But people, who did they feel? Meaning that impacts you. And that's how the efficacy, effectiveness of something is measured. It is not for nothing that Vedas talk about Omkara. It's for nothing that they talk about Gayatri, because they have the inner inherent strength. Some kind of a spiritual strength is there. That's why when you use that meter, when you recite in that meter, it has an effect on you. So Gayatri is chosen here to communicate Brahman, because students are familiar with Gayatri meter, and Gayatri meter, every meter has its own potential, but Gayatri has the most potential. And that's being told in the form of story as to how Gayatri is all powerful. What other meters could not do, Gayatri did. Not only that, but it picked up something that they lost. So then it will become a big story in Puranas, but that is how in the Vedas also you find stories like that. This is called Arthavada. Arthavada is for praising something. So that is why the Gayatri is chosen here as a means of helping us to meditate upon Brahman and then to realize Brahman. And Gayatri is called, a lot of things are said about Gayatri, but Veda Mata, so says, so Mataramiva, Gayatri is the mother of a Brahmana. Of a Brahmana who recites this Gayatri mantra, for that person the Gayatri is mother. So Gayatri Saratvacha Brahmanasya, Brahmana who recites the Vedas, for that Gayatri is the essence of Brahmana. Mataramiva is like the mother of a Brahmana. And so a Brahmana will never give up Gayatri and then pick up something else, and that's the reason why Gayatri is presented for those who are familiar, those who are attached to that, those who have seen some value. To them, when you use that means, it works for them. For other people, it may not work. But for the group of students to whom the teacher is talking, this will work. That is why these few things are taken here as the props or as symbols for meditation. Okay. Ato Gayatri Mukhyana Brahman. Therefore, Brahman is described through Gayatri. Brahman was described through Omkara earlier. Now Brahman is described through Gayatri. So we'll see it in the next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmedi Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.